Hey guys, so I want you to picture this. You've spent 4 years imprisoned in a Japanese prisoner of war camp. You're a soldier. You're fighting for your life. How would you feel having gone through that experience? Would you want revenge if you escaped, or would you just want to live a peaceful life? Today we're going to be reacting to I Needed Revenge, 4 years in a Japanese prison camp, Memoirs of World War II. This is going to be really good, guys. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel. If you're brand new here, my name's Ryan and I'm a former Royal Marine from the United Kingdom. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, guys. I think it's going to hit home a little bit.
What kept me alive? Well, I think determination and hatred. My hatred was so bad for them at this point until I had to live to see if I could get revenge. I needed revenge.
By the summer of 1941, war was raging all across Europe and Southeast Asia, but the United States had no plans of joining in. So for 16-year-old Glenn Frazier, joining the U.S. Army was nothing more than an opportunity to give him a fresh start.
I was a farm boy and I got sort of antsy and was ready to make a change. So I got on my motorcycle and I went down the road and I said, "Look out, Army, here I come." So I pulled down on my motorcycle and the sergeant was watching me from the door and he said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to join the Army." He said, "How old are you?" I said, 21. That's my first big lie and first tremendous lie. An hour and a half later, they swore me in and I had three choices: Panama Canal, Alaska, or Philippine Islands. And he sort of convinced me, and he said that the Philippines was a paradise and I volunteered for the Philippines.
Yeah, the military has many different ways of getting you into it. You know, you don't really have to be sold it once you work through the door. They're gonna try their best to get you where you're needed, okay? And they'll have probably instructions where they're needed, manpower wise. At the time now, Philippines, yeah, they'll have sold it on the promise of it being paradise, but you're on the doorstep to Japan, and that would have been the unique selling point to getting these guys, young guys who wanted a bit of an escape, a challenge in life, which I can understand from my own experience in the military, okay? You just want to get out and you want to do things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
But Glenn's stay in paradise would be short-lived. On December 7th, 1941, Japan would launch a widespread assault across the Pacific, beginning with the attack on Pearl Harbor. 10 hours later, Japan invaded the Philippines.
Wow. Far from
Although the
paradise.
combined American and Filipino forces outnumbered the Japanese, they were largely inexperienced, and the invasion just kept coming. All the Americans could do was fight and hold on to hope.
We fought the Japanese for 4 months. We would sit there and listen day after day. Supplies and reinforcements on the way, and they never came.
After months of hard-fought defense, the Philippines were overrun. Some 100,000 American and Filipino troops were now prisoners of the Empire of Japan.
Over 100,000 people, so we're talking football stadium numbers of our men, you know, held captive, prisoners of war. How scary must that be? Petrified enough going to war in what you originally perceived and believed to be paradise. Now you're in a prison camp and you're subject to torture and treatment that you've never imagined. You could never imagine another human being actually inflicting. That must have been very, very tough, beyond comprehension for these young, brave warrior soldiers of ours, guys, okay? And I have nothing but greatest respect for that era and anyone continuing to sign on the dotted line to serve their country, no matter what country you are pertaining to. I have great respect for all soldiers.
It was doomsday for us. I mean, it was hard to take, and it was just something that we thought it wouldn't happen, but it did happen, and when it happened, we were devastated.
Exhausted and defeated, the captured soldiers were amassed at Mariveles at the southern tip of Bataan. Not one of them could have known what horrors lie ahead.
When we first got there, they were shooting people out back, and they were just continuously shooting people.
Wow.
They made us stand and line up and take all of our belongings, everything we had owned except our boxer shorts, and put it in the ground in front of us. And then took our canteen and poured the water out of our canteen and took us and told us to pick up our stuff and go, join the march.
Destined for a POW camp, 70,000 Allied prisoners were forced to march over 60 miles. Along the way, they were subjected to harsh cruelty, and thousands would not survive the march.
See, this is when we look at our own kind of conventions, the way we treat prisoners of war. You know, you got the Geneva Convention that pretty much, you know, regulates the way we fight at war. And some people say, well, what's the point of upholding it if the other countries who we're fighting against don't uphold it? But my take on it is this: we have our standards, guys, and we'll treat prisoners of war, you know, humanely. And that kind of treatment is just horrific, isn't it? You know, 60 miles without water, being tortured along the way. I mean, once you're a prisoner of war, what threat are you? You're no threat. You're taken out of the game. Your chess piece is taken from the chessboard. What's the purpose of treating you inhumanely? There's no real reason, I think, unless you're of a devil nature and you're a spineless human being, as far as I'm concerned. But let me know in the chat, guys, what do you think about the Geneva Convention?
And we saw it right on the death march. We saw him just take that saber and just cut a man's head off, and just one swing. There was a big bomb crater, and they had the Americans trying to fill it up with rocks and with shovels. And when the Americans got to the point where they couldn't shovel anymore, they kicked them in the water down in the pit. And they had 4 Japanese over there with bamboo poles with a point on it, and they put them down in the slush in the water and then buried them alive. So for 6 days.
This is harrowing, guys. This is horrendous to hear. I know some people might not think it's horrendous, but me coming from a military background, this sends shivers down my spine, because I can understand and I can imagine that experience that they're having. This level of killing in films doesn't really resonate truthfully, you know. But that there, to be able to see that or witness that, it will be horrifying. It will be absolutely horrifying. I can't understand what mindset you must be in to do something like that. I don't care where you're from. I don't care how you've been brought up. If you do stuff like that, it will haunt you. It will haunt you to the day you die. And I don't think anyone got away with that kind of treatment. Even the people who was given that horrendous punishment out, they'll have been horrid, guys. They'll have been horrified themselves. It's just sickening, man.
Days and 7 nights, no sleep, no water, no food, or no nothing. When I got to the end, I couldn't pick up my feet. My tongue was swelling. That's what shape I was in.
Starved, beaten, and weary, the prisoners finally reached Camp O'Donnell. But the end of their journey was only the beginning of what Glenn would refer to as hell on earth.
Jesus Christ.
In October of 1942, along with hundreds of other American prisoners, Glenn was shipped to a slave labor camp in Osaka, Japan.
I worked in a lumber yard all day, and it was cold. It was that particular day, it was 8 degrees. So I was walking down the streets of Osaka, Japan with my hands in my pocket, and here's this guard tells me to take my hands out of my pocket. So I took them out, and then when we got up to the camp, he told that guard at the gate, reported and pointed over at me.
Glenn was escorted to the prison guardhouse, where an interpreter and a furious Japanese major were waiting for him.
Wow.
The major was sitting over there at a desk by himself, and the interpreter kept arguing with me. You don't obey orders. All soldiers don't walk down the streets of Osaka or any other place with hands in pockets. You know that, you're a soldier. I said, no, I'm not a soldier. I'm a POW in Japan. So the major got sort of excited, and he hit the desk with his fist, and he says, take him outside. We're going to make an example of him.
Jesus, man.
And so
That's what he said. He says, "I'm not a soldier. I'm a prisoner of war." This is evil right here. This is actual evil. It's kind of hard to even think about what to say, guys. It just makes me feel sick to my stomach, man.
they took me outside, and then they gathered all the POWs in the camp. The major had come out and stuck his saber up here to my neck. And he said, "You have a last word?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And I looked at him and I opened my mouth and I didn't realize what I was saying. I said, "He can kill me, but he cannot kill my spirit. And my spirit's going to haunt him until he dies."
Being a superstitious man, the Japanese major took Glenn's warning seriously and decided instead to put him in solitary confinement.
I was up to a hole in the ground, 5 by 5 by 5. And I was there 7 days and 7 nights, and I lost it completely. I didn't know where I was. And I dream in and thinking, where am I? What's my name? Do I have any family? Where have I come from? Well, when the guy opened the thing up 7 days later, I couldn't stand up, so I was trying to pull myself up. And he stomped my hands on the edge of the hole in the ground. And he hit me back of the head with his rifle butt and knocked me unconscious. And I don't know how many times he kicked me in the ribs. And he broke 3 ribs on the right side and 2 on the left side.
Beaten within an inch of his life, Glenn is convinced the only thing that kept him breathing was a feeling that began to burn from deep within.
My hatred was so bad for him at this point until I had to live to see if I could get revenge. I needed revenge.
But his hatred for the Japanese would only continue to be provoked. One day, as Glenn and another soldier made their way to the camp hospital, a pair of Japanese fighter planes decided to rain more turmoil on their American captives.
Here come 2 Zero fighters. They bombed and strafed the hospital. And when they started to leave, they came right off the road, right over us. I jumped in the right hole, the right ditch, and my friend jumped in the left ditch, and they dropped one little bomb. I got up and I looked for my friend and I didn't see him. And I looked over at that hole. I went over there and started looking around. I found his left foot in his left shoe, hit him direct. They deliberately hit the hospital, killed about 115 of our people in the beds and a couple of nurses and so forth. And that time I flared with hatred.
Hey, this is getting to me, this one. I'm not going to lie. I don't apologise for pausing it either. We need to hear these stories. We need to hear these stories and learn from our past. No experience should make you... No experience should be horrendous enough to make you hate the person who's given you that experience. We've messed up in life. As a human, we've messed up. If that situation arises, I can completely understand why he has absolute hatred for these people. And it's a shame, no one wins. I generally can't understand the mindset that the perpetrator is in. What you're getting out of doing a strafe run and bombing a hospital, a prisoner of war camp. That's not the act of courage, that's the act of cowardice. These crimes that we're witnessing right here are crimes of cowards, not of warriors. Warriors don't do stuff like this. Real warriors have compassion. Real warriors have love. Real warriors are professional. They're not like this.
That grew every day. Nearly every day I had something else to help to fuel my hatred.
Glenn remained a POW in Japan until August of 1945. When the second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, Japan surrendered, and the war was finally over. After nearly 4 years in captivity, the remaining American prisoners, now completely unguarded, simply walked out of the camp and boarded a train to freedom.
Wow.
But for Glenn Frazier, the war would continue to rage in his soul for decades to come. The horrors he experienced had developed a deep hatred within him that no amount of world peace could ever uproot.
It just took first place in my system. So that I could not get rid of. I didn't want to get rid of it. I had my pride, and I pride myself in saying, I'll kill him, I'll kill him, I'll kill him, I'll kill him, I'll kill some of them. Before I die, I'll get a chance to kill one of them.
Wow.
One night I started having nightmares, and instead of me being out of the situation, home safe, these dreams were just as real as if it happened to me, just like it happened. And the beatings and all that. When I woke up, I was on the floor on my knees, and I was crying. But all this came back to me inside of me and saying, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. But I said, I've got to do it, I've got to get rid of it, I can't go on this way. That was a turning point in me, was making up my mind that I had to do it, to pray and get rid of the hatred.
Yeah.
So I started looking at the Japanese in a different.
What a brave man beyond our wildest dreams. I have so much respect for this man, this soldier, this warrior, this patriot, this hero, for willing to reconcile the problems and try to make better the situation for the people he has utmost hatred for. The fact that he's wanting to change that mindset shows how much of a good warrior he is. He's willing to try his best to change something which the enemy at the time wasn't prepared to do.
Light, and I had to realize, I think inside, what and why did these people do this? The Japanese people for years was under control of a person like the emperor. It was a god, and they were taught no tolerance for the enemy. But the Japanese people were really good people. They were really good people.
Wow.
Finally free of the inner turmoil that plagued him for much of his life, Colonel Glenn Frazier lived out the rest of his days using his experiences in the war as an opportunity to speak on the power of forgiveness.
Wow. That's... Wow. Rest in peace, Colonel Glenn Frazier. Died in 2018. What a man. What a man. So he reached pretty much the top of his career, fueled on hatred, and he understood that the power of forgiveness can be life-changing for both sides, you know, both sides of war. Because let's face it, there's no victim and there's no, how can I put this? On both sides, there's victims, guys, all right? We brainwashed into thinking that there's a good guy and a bad guy in war, when really it's just both sides normally have good intentions and they're fighting for the same reasons as each other. It's normally one or two people at the very top that have the problems, and in this case, it was the people at the top in Japan, and it wasn't the Japanese people. So I can understand that. That's why I think war is useless. It proves nothing, and it only maims, harms, injures, kills, and warps people for the rest of their lives, those that manage to escape the horrors of war. And I just hope we can live in a world where there's peace. It's a tough ask. This was a hard one to watch, guys. I'm not one for getting too emotional, but yeah, this is probably one of the better things I've watched, guys. And what a man, Glenn Frazier. Hey guys, if you like this one, if you want to drop a comment below, then please do like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.